Hello, friends. Welcome to Top of the Stack MTG. So, we finally have something to talk about, which is cool for Explorer Arena. They just came out last night with the new Explorer only set, if you can call it that. So, let's take a look at it. I already purchased it, so I think what I need to do is go to here. They still have that little bug where you can't be an Explorer deck and look at the 20 card packs. It'll make more sense here. I have to choose Historic in order to pick to only look at this. It's an Explorer product. I'm sorry, it's a Historic product. So you have to have Historic selected in order to be able to look at these cards. Even though when you choose Explorer, these cards come up as options to put in your deck. So it's not a huge deal. It's just a little bit annoying. If you want to look at this, you have to select Historic, not Explorer. Okay. So here they are. These are the 20 cards. I'm just going to go over them real quick here. One quick thing I want to point out, which I really love. I hope this is a good sign for the future. They put the set symbols on these. They don't have a goofy E, like EX, Explorer, or whatever. They literally put the set symbols on, which I really hope means they honestly have the intention of releasing these sets eventually. And these cards will just slot right in. I also do want to say that overall, this list of cards is a bit lackluster, to be perfectly honest. I think even if you're a Spike, you're going to look at these cards and be like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Which, honestly, I gotta say, is probably another good sign. I hope that it means they're trying to keep the value within the set so that when the set comes out, you still have a reason to spend a bunch of wild cards or draft and buy the set, So I think those are really good signs, I hope. All right, the first card we have is Favorite Hoplite. This came from Theros. This is the first Theros set back in, I guess, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there is when it came out. Whenever you cast a spell that targets this guy, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy and prevent all damage that would be dealt to it this turn, being this guy. So that's good. That's okay. It's a little bit like Prowess. It's weird that it's a white card, and then later on there's a white-blue one as well. So I guess it's a white-blue thing. I don't know. Rally the Ancestors. Return each creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile those creatures at the beginning of your next end step. Exile Rally of the Ancestors. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Maybe you could kind of build a deck around this. Yeah, I would assume so. Some kind of bunch of small creatures, and then you sacrifice them, and then you play this, and they all come back. Maybe enter the battlefield effects, things like that. It's a little weird that they get exiled after you do it, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Mausoleum Wanderer. There was a lot of talk about this card. I know this card is essential for the Spirits deck. So I'm glad they put this in, so I guess Spirits can now become a tier 1 thing. I have a cat who's going crazy. Give me just a sec. We've also got Ensoul Artifact. Enchanted Artifact. Enchanted Artifact is a creature with base power and toughness 5/5 in addition to its other types, which is cool. That seems like a fun little card. Maybe you could build a deck around that. I'm not sure. Shadowborn Apostle. A deck can have any number of cards named Shadowborn Apostle. Spend 1, sacrifice 6 creatures named Shadowborn Apostle. Search your library for a demon creature card, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle. So, I guess you just want to grab some big demons and pack a bunch of these in and see what you could do. I don't think I'd build this deck. I think it's a little bit, and I appreciate. It seems like they're trying to cover a lot of different players in these 20 cards. It's really dumb to try to do that in just 20 cards, but I'm sure, as I've said in the past, they probably only have 4 people that program cards in for them, so it takes them forever. And they were working really hard on the giant set that they just released, which is kind of silly. But yeah, yeah. So I think they tried to get a spectrum, right? This is not a tier 1 thing, obviously, but it could be fun, you know. Um, Players with less experience can easily look at this and be able to say, I know what to do with this, which is great, as opposed to, something like this maybe, or this, because I don't know that I'd build a spirit deck, but clearly it's a very good deck. So I think it's nice that they throw these kinds of cards in. Okay, moving on. Tainted Remedy. If an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead. It's a great sideboard card, of course, especially against the white life gain deck. Very nice. And they got Kalidas, which people were asking for, so that's good. That's 2 so far that people were really kind of talking about. Lifelink. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile that card and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Awesome. Spend 3, sacrifice another vampire or zombie. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on this guy. So yeah, that's cool. He seems good. I know he was in a pretty busted deck back when he was in Standard, and I assume now he still sees tier 1 play. I would assume it's a good card. Building a zombie deck could be a lot of fun with this guy, so that's cool. It's too bad he's not a zombie, but yeah, it's okay. He's cool. Titan Strength. I love this card. It's a 1-drop instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 till the end of the turn and scry 1. It's just a great. It's almost a removal spell, to be perfectly honest with you. You just pump your guy up, kill whoever's blocking it or whoever you chose to block. You get to scry. It's a great card. It's an instant. It's really nice. Searing Blood, another great card. It costs 2 red, so you're getting kind of expensive if you're playing multicolors, of course. Searing Blood deals 2 damage to target creature. When that creature dies this turn, Searing Blood deals 3 damage to the creature's controller. So that's cool. That's really nice for a burn deck. Of course, it's going straight into the red deck that I'm currently playing. But they didn't release a lot of great red cards for the red deck, but it's okay. Hopefully they're trying to see the big picture and they're trying to get these sets to come out. I really wish they'd bring on more people to program cards, and it's kind of funny because I know that Magic releases a lot of products in paper, a lot, and there's a real kind of danger of oversaturating the market with these paper products. But that is not true on Arena. Arena seems slow on its releases, to be perfectly honest. So I don't know. Teamer Battle Rage. My wife was happy to see this card because she, of course, had a Teamer deck back in the day, which is totally cool. Target creature gains double strike till the end of the turn. Ferocious. That creature also gains trample to the end of the turn if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. So that's nice. Alishu Smiles at Death. First strike. Whenever Alishu Smiles at Death attacks, you may pay 2. If you do, return target creature card with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it comes in attacking, which is totally cool. I think this is really nice. It seems like a really tame version of the card that they had to ban. I always forget the name of that card, but there's that card that when you attack with it, you can look at the top 5 cards and all non-human creatures come on the battlefield attacking and they're indestructible. Or, I mean, it's just a crazy card, right? And they had to ban it, of course. It was too good. But this is nice because you get to do that kind of stuff, but it seems like it's a lot more restricted, which is very cool. And of course, the third card that everybody was kind of clamoring for, Elvish Mystic, which is great. I'm glad to see this because now we have two one-drop ramp spells. And the best thing about these ramp spells, and this has been a pet peeve of mine for a very long time in Magic, in my opinion, ramp should only make green land. You should not be able to ramp for any color. You should only get big green stompies out of ramp. And the reason I say that is because right now I believe Wizards of the Coast has to be very careful about the giant creatures that it creates, no matter what color they are. Because playing a 4-color deck is nothing in Magic. It is not a restriction, which is really strange, you know. The ability to ramp and fix, and it's crazy. There's so many things you can do, especially if you're not just playing standard. So I really appreciate mana ramp that only ramps for green. All right, anyway, almost done here. Back to nature, destroy all enchantments. I guess they grabbed that because they thought it would really help the current environment. And I appreciate that. That's cool. It's a sideboard card, of course. Tireless Tracker. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigate. When you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. So that's cool. That's nice. Oh, here's that blue and white card I was telling you about. Whenever you cast a spell that targets this guy, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy, and then scry 1. So I guess you've got prowess in red, which isn't counters, right? That's just a temporary +1/+1. But if you're doing white-blue, you get permanent counters. So I guess that's okay. These could go in the counter deck. I don't generally play blue. I'm not a big blue fan, but I mean, this is just doing +1/+1 counter stuff, I guess. So this could work. It's cool. Supreme Verdict. This spell can't be countered. Destroy all creatures. Awesome, right? That's just a good board wipe. Slaughter Games. This spell can't be countered. Choose a non-land card name. Search your target's opponent, graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards of that name and exile them. Then that player shuffles their deck. This is an excellent card. Once you know what you're up against, especially if it's some kind of a fragile combo deck, like, ooh, I got the card. Then you play this and just name that card, and then they all go away. You know, it's probably best in sideboards. So once you figure out what you're playing against, you can bring this card in. Yeah, pretty cool. Siege Rhino. Siege Rhino's crazy. When Siege Rhino was in standard, it was pretty busted. I don't know how busted it would be today. Like I said, playing a bunch of colors is never an issue in Magic. That's not something you should really worry about. I mean, maybe if you're trying to compete on the very top level, you'd be like, well, this current standard is only good for 3, you know, but honestly, yeah, Siege Rhino, it's a good card. It's a really good card, and it made a lot of people very mad back in the day. I never played it because it's black, so I generally kind of avoid blue and black. But yeah, it's cool. I like that it's a Rhino. That's cool. Okay, and then the last two. Darksteel Citadel is an indestructible land that taps for a colorless. Super cool. And it's an artifact land, so that's interesting if you're playing an artifact deck. Yeah. And then Hangerback Walker, artifact creature construct. Hangerback Walker enters a battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When Hangerback Walker dies, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying for each +1/+1 counter on Hangerback Walker. Spend 1, tap, put a +1/+1 counter on Hangerback Walker. It's a really good card. It did very well. It's from Origins. Oh, we forgot to talk about the sets. I'm going to go through and talk about the sets a little bit too. This was a very good card. It was great to draft it, especially. But the artifact decks, this will make artifact decks really strong. It's a great card. I'm going to build an artifact deck. This is probably the card in this whole bunch that I'm the most excited for. like I said, it's a little bit lackluster. But this came from Origins, and Origins was supposedly going to be the last core set, and then they weren't going to make core sets anymore. And Origins was cool because it took 5 planeswalkers and it introduced them right as they were getting their spark. So they were flip cards. They're super cool. They definitely got to get those into Explorer ASAP. Um, yeah, we need a bunch more Explorer cards. 20 cards, not good. Um, but it's from Origins, and it's a very fun, very cool set. It's probably one of the neatest sets that I can think of, next to maybe Cons of Tarkir, all the Tarkir stuff, because I really like the dragons, and then Origins I really liked as well. Really good sets that were really fun to play with. Okay, so, what was the land from? The land was from M15, so that was the core set before Origins. And this was the start of Frontier. This is when they changed the border. So in Japan, they're like, hey, we get good translations from M15 on. They made a new border. We should make a new format. We'll call it Frontier. I don't know that they literally chose the name Frontier. They probably had a Japanese word that meant Frontier, maybe. I'm not positive. But in America, we called that Japanese format Frontier. And M15 was the start of it. Now, Pioneer, they backed it up 2 full sets, 2 years, I believe. So you get Theros, which was not part of Frontier, and then you get M14, and then you get Ravnica. And I don't know if M13 is part of Pioneer or not. I'm not positive. I kind of want to say no. I think it starts at Ravnica, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Yeah, so that's M15. And then this is Cons of Tarkir. This is the dragon set. It's a super cool thing. Now there's 3 sets in it, of course. That's back when they were doing blocks. So all year was Tarkir, not like now where they're bouncing all over the place. And I don't know if I like that better or not. I don't think I really care, to be honest. I just like getting new fun cards. This is from Ravnica, I believe, and I think this is the first block that starts off Pioneer. I don't think M13 is part of it. This is also Ravnica, and then this is Theros, and then this is Innistrad. And Innistrad, I think, was out when they started really promoting Arena. I feel like Innistrad was on Arena. And I'm talking way back during the alpha testing, way back when we were just getting invited. They just put a bunch of Shadows over Innistrad cards on Arena. And then their first official release was the first set on Arena, which I think was Ixalan, I think. I can't quite remember, but yeah, they had a bunch of Shadows over Innistrad cards on Arena, and then they took them off because they wanted to start fresh with, I think it was even before the open beta. I think we only played with him for a little while, and then they moved on for the closed beta. But it's a very cool set. It's tons of fun. I actually went to Albuquerque. They used to do kind of competitions. They used to have these big competitions in cities all over America. I know they still want to do that, but they've sort of farmed them out. So now you could maybe do a Channel Fireball thing somewhere or something like that. But Wizards of the Coast used to do competitions all over. And for some reason, I don't know why, Albuquerque was on the list of places that they always went, which was super cool. I guess now we probably, once I start getting back into that kind of stuff, we're probably going to end up going to Denver, I would assume. Yeah, anyways, M15. Cool. And then M14, right? And this came between Ravnica and Theros. So M14. And then we've got Fate Reforged, which is part of the Cons trio. It's the second set from Cons and Fate Reforged, and then Theros. And then this is the Eldrazi set. I think this one was called Oath of the Planeswalkers, I think, was the second. It's the second half of the Eldrazi set. Origins again. So that's Liliana. Liliana is giving. Liliana met this demon or something weird, and she was like, "My brother's really sick. I need you to help him." So the demon gave her some medicine, but they had to make a deal. And then she gave the medicine to her brother, and it turned out it was actually poison, and it killed him. So she freaked out. She raised him from the dead, and she raised a bunch of other things from the dead, and they went chasing after the demon. It's pretty fun. The origin set is super fun, but that's Liliana in this picture. This is from M14. This is M15. And then this is the horror set again. This is Eldritch Moon, the second. They only had 2 sets in that one, and this is the second half of that. And then back to Fate Reforged, and then Theros. Yeah, so this is horrible, right? 20 card. I mean, it's just a joke. It's a total joke. It's a horrible way to go about this. I think that Wizards knew they were receiving such a backlash about the economy on Arena that they needed a win. They needed something. So after that whole economy stream that everybody was down on, they came out and said, Explorer, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. We're going to release all the cards. Blah, blah, blah. And everybody was super happy all of a sudden. I was super happy, you know. And then about 3 months later, they said, hey, we're going to do 20 cards. And here they are. So this set's a disaster. It's a joke. It's way too bad. I am very thankful that they're putting Explorer on Arena. I don't know that I need to say that because Arena makes so much money. Arena does very well for Wizards, so of course they should be releasing things on Arena. There's a disconnect there somehow. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if they're feeling really precious about paper, because I don't want paper to die, you know? And that actually brings up a really good point. They also released a historic bundle at the same time they released this yesterday. So in that, of course, there's a bunch of alchemy cards that are designed to only be used on the computer. Because if you try to do it in paper, it'd be way too easy to cheat or to forget, or the computer keeps track of things for you in alchemy. So I was telling my brother about that, the idea that they're straying from paper and they're doing this weird computer only thing and nobody likes it. And my brother likes Magic. He enjoys playing. He's played a bit. He's not an avid fan, right? He's not an enfranchised player. I think that's the right word. I'm not sure. He's not like me. So when I told him, I expected him to say, wow, that's weird. They got to be sticking with paper. What are they thinking? And he said, oh, that's smart. Computers. And I thought, well, that's true, you know? So I don't know. I feel like there will be a large group of enfranchised players who hate Arena. No, not Arena, who hate alchemy. Who really hate alchemy because it's not true Magic. And I'm kind of there. I built a dragon deck in Historic because I was so bored of waiting for this 20 pack to come out. So I built a dragon deck, and there's a whelp in there, a small dragon, who every turn, all the dragons in your hand become 1 cost cheaper, 1 mana cheaper, and it's permanent. So if you have 4 dragons in your hand, you play this little guy, all 4 of them drop by 1. Next turn, drop again. Next turn, drop again. And if the whelp dies, they're still that cheap. The computer remembers. And that deck is kind of busted in Historic. It's good. It's better than it has any right to be perfectly honest with you. Because it's totally a casual deck. I mean, it's just red and green dragons, right? 90% of the time, I should die without ever playing a dragon because I'm trying to ramp up and I'm going against all these tier 1 decks and they just run me over, you know what I mean? And that is how it plays in Explorer. Because I turned around and built the same deck in Explorer, just replaced the cards that I couldn't use from Historic. And it's terrible in Explorer, right? Because it's a casual deck. It's not supposed to be good. It's just supposed to be fun. But in Historic, I feel like it's like tier 2.5, maybe tier 2, maybe. It's good, you know. So I don't know. I feel like alchemy is a really good idea for the future and a really hard sell right now, both for Wizards and for Magic fans. For Wizards, in the sense that they don't want to just stop making paper. I think paper makes a lot of money for them, you know? They don't want to just be like, well, paper's dead. You can only play on the computer. I guess eventually that time could come. You know, maybe in 50 years if we're totally out of wood on the planet Earth. And, you know, I don't know. Yeah. So this is terrible. I'm glad they did it. I really am looking forward to the future for Explorer. I really want them to start releasing these old sets, you know? I mean, we need them. We really need them. Because Pioneer is so fun. And the reason Pioneer is so fun is because they're not... Okay, so right now they have Modern and Standard. And the reason I'm listing these two together is because they're both basically rotating formats. And I know it sounds crazy to say that, but Standard obviously just rotates, right? New set comes out, old set falls off. It's not that simple, but once a year, cards go away and just the new cards are left. Modern, they've begun releasing sets that are only Modern legal, but the cards are new. So they can say, these are the top 10 Modern decks. We want none of them to be popular in a year. Let's make a new set and put a bunch of cards in it that create 10 new decks that sort of wipe out these 10 old decks. And it's not power creep. I'm not talking about just make all the cards stronger. Mark Rosewater did a really smart talk about it where he said that it's sort of like stirring a big pot of, say, spaghetti sauce, something thick, right? You're stirring it. And where the spoon is, there's kind of this lump in the front because it's a thick liquid and you're pushing it. So you get this lump. And in the back, there's this little sag behind the spoon. So for power, they just do that. A real simple version would be, okay, for this set, green is going to be busted. Everything else is super weak, green is busted. And then the next set, red is busted. Everything else is super weak, red is busted. And they can just rotate through the power level of all the different type of cards they have so that they don't really have to have power creep overall. They just have little pieces of power creep that then drop back down and get replaced by other things. I thought it was a really smart analogy that he used. So they're so good at designing the game itself and making money that I think they've kind of found a way to keep the the overall power creep down, but still make kind of busted cards, you know. And we see when they get super greedy and all of a sudden they got to ban 4 cards out of a set. I mean, it's ridiculous. But that's not the norm. It felt like the norm for a little while there, I'll tell you that. But it's really not the norm over Magic's history. And it's kind of not the norm right now, which is great. They've got a little more subtle. They can bring it down. They can say, look, as long as we got 4 tier 1 decks that are all kind of interchangeable, we're okay. We don't have to ban things and people don't get mad. So let's try to keep it that way. Yeah, so Modern is sort of rotating in the sense that they can bring out new Modern sets with new cards, and the old cards just kind of fall away as people want to try the new stuff and as the new stuff does well in competitions, and you know so in a weird way it's sort of a rotating format, and they haven't done that for Pioneer yet. Now eventually they will, of course. There'll be Pioneer Super Set or whatever, I don't know, but it'll have a bunch of new cards that are only legal in Pioneer. But because that hasn't happened yet, Pioneer is just kind of wide open. I mean, not to sound dumb, but it's a little bit like the Wild West, right? I mean, you build whatever you want. I'm sure there are Pioneer things that haven't been explored yet that could be tier 1, you know? Because every new standard set is part of Pioneer. All the way back to Ravnica. You know, it's a lot of sets. There's a lot to explore. And because of Modern and because of Standard and because of Arena, Pioneer has been kind of taking a back seat. So it's kind of wide open, you know. And Wizards hasn't really tried to mold it yet by creating a set of all new cards that will sort of take over. So it's super fun. You know, I can't wait to get more Explorer here. Wow, that was a lot. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna. I found that there's a lot that I want to talk about that doesn't have to do with Magic. So I think I'm going to create another channel, a second channel, that I can talk about things like music and movies, other things that I really enjoy, and save this for Magic. But I'll give you more information about that later. Yeah, thank you so much for watching.